As I'm sitting on the park bench in the gazebo on a cool November night, I know that I have something to get off my chest, but I just can't seem to find the words. It felt like I was in the midst of drowning, but the surface of the water is just within reach. All I need to do is make one little kick and I'll be able to breathe. But when all you've known your entire life is to suffocate in your own lies instead of breathing in reality, drowning can just seem more comfortable. Sometimes you feel the need to force yourself underwater so as to not stand out too much. But I can say now that that November night would be the last time I stopped keeping myself underwater and started to accept myself to be bisexual. For as long as I can remember, I've always felt like my sexuality didn't line up with what was considered normal. But because I'm from a more conservative, closed-minded area, I never felt the comfort to explore that part of me. I grew up being used to hearing negative things about queer sexualities. There was this one time during high school, me and some guy friends were hanging out, shooting the shit, talking about people that we find attractive. Without even thinking about it, I brought up a man. And like I should have known, this definitely wasn't met with acceptance. No, instead what I heard back was, "What are you, a faggot?" Looking back, I think I should have responded differently than with just a nervous laugh. Instead, I should have responded with a "fuck you." Fuck you for making me feel like being different was inherently wrong. Fuck you for making me hate and despise a part of myself just because it didn't line up with your backwards gender norms. Fuck you for making me feel like it was more comfortable to drown in my own lies than to breathe in my truths. Fuck you for preventing me from being my true and honest self. But I got out of that environment and ended up here at SLU. And I could tell I could tell early on that things were going to be different from how they were at home. It felt like with all the experiences I was having, I was becoming someone I didn't even know I wanted to. I was going personally, mentally, spiritually, into my consciousness for social justice. In just a few months, I was making deeper and stronger relationships than I'd ever had before. Like my friend Ethan, who I'd known since high school, but just the environment of college, we became so much closer with one another. He's the type of guy who has a smile and laugh that can light up a room, and although he can be firm and passionate in what he believes in, he's always willing to go the extra mile for those he cares about. Whenever I'm with him, I always know that we could spend hours talking about bullshit or supporting one another through life struggles. Subconsciously, I think I started to get closer to the surface of the water, and one morning it finally happened. Like a ray of light that pierces the water surface, I started to genuinely question my sexuality. But this was not going to be an easy question to answer. I could still feel something pulling me back underwater, telling me that it was safer down here. I didn't know what the world would be like outside, and sometimes it's better to stick with what you know, but better to be safe rather than be sorry. But after a few weeks, with some long sleepless nights, lots of walks, taking time for myself, I think it just kind of clicked internally that I was bisexual. Like after agonizing about this question for weeks, it suddenly felt right in my head. It didn't feel like much since only I knew about it, but it was still something. It didn't take much to know that the person I was going to come out to first was going to be Ethan. There wasn't any specific rhyme or reason for it, but I just knew that he was someone I could trust to accept and listen to me no matter who I was. What I did have major doubts about, though, was whether or not I was going to be able to get those words off my chest. It was one thing to self-identify as bi, but to bring someone else in on this vulnerable side of me, I just didn't know if I was ready. But eventually I built up the courage to ask Ethan to go for a walk. We go for this walk and end up at the gazebo near Compton Boulevard on SLU's campus. We get there and we just talk about what's been going on in life. The night is cool, calm, and dark. All around us you can hear the sound of a city that's gone to sleep and the eerie lack of noise that comes with it. Eventually, it came to a point in the conversation where it was now or never. I had to get these words off my chest. Now, the words I actually used to tell Ethan I was bi, I don't think I'll ever remember, but I certainly remember how I felt in that moment. It felt like simultaneously an immense swarm of butterflies was fluttering around my stomach while the weight of the world was being lifted off my shoulders. I felt strong for finally saying the words that I know had been true for so long. But I was also terrified because I knew once I put those words out there that I could never take them back. I remember stumbling and bumbling and rambling, word after word, sentence after sentence. It was like I didn't want to stop talking because once I did, there was no going back to the way things were before. It meant that there was no more living in the warm comfort of my lies, but only the cold reality of my truths. But after however many minutes, which felt like hours to me, I finally just shut up. And then we're just sitting in this silence. The silence that I was so terrified to be in, the kind of silence that feels deafening. But what Ethan finally said to break that silence, I'll never forget. He told me, "Nate, I'm so happy for you right now." And after that, a wave of relief came over me that I've never felt before or after that moment. It was like, because I was being honest with the people who I was close to, I was being honest with myself and finally owning and being real with my identity. When someone else was in on this part of me I'd previously denied, it felt like it was finally real. In the months following me and Ethan's conversations, I would go on to have lots of one-on-one talks with those close to me where I'd be open and honest about my identity. And although my prior fears wouldn't have allowed me to believe it, each and every one of those conversations has been met with an acceptance and love that I could have never imagined. So to all those people I've been able to be vulnerable and honest with from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. Since I have come out, I've also been in an opposite sex relationship. And just to get this out of the way, no, that doesn't mean I've picked a side. That's not how bisexuality works. And no, my relationship isn't at risk of me being unfaithful just because I'm not attracted to more people. Because again, that's not how bisexuality works. But honestly, I don't even care if people feel that way, because at the end of the day, I know that my partner loves and accepts me for who I am, and that's all that matters. Things aren't perfect in my life since I've been honest about my sexuality. There can still be times of anxiety, depression, and battling self-made demons. But what I can say is that by being honest about who I am, I'm living my truth. And that's a damn good feeling. I am a faggot. I'll say it. I'll scream that shit like I mean it. I'm finally at a point where I can look in the mirror and tell myself I am who I am, and no one can take that away from me. I can confidently and proudly own my identity, and I'm no longer keeping myself underwater, but instead breathing in my reality. Thank you.